Roman Reigns returns to save Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns has a disturbing surprise for him upon his WWE return. A very unfortunate update on Natalya's current WWE status. Drew McIntyre bashes WWE despite signing a new deal. WWE crowns a new champion after SmackDown went off air. TNA and WWE crossover leads to a major disappointment. Jade, Cargill and Bianca Belair's fate decided. Unseen WWE footage shows what Solo Sikoa said to female fan after SmackDown went off air. Roman Reigns has been replaced by WWE. The Bloodline is on the cusp of a massive storyline. Let's dive right in. A very unfortunate update on Natalya's current WWE status. Natalya is one of the most experienced performers in WWE's roster. However, a recent report claims that the veteran has yet to re-sign a contract amid rumors of her departure from the Stamford-based company. The 42-year-old signed with WWE in 2007 and has been with the wrestling promotion since. She has been an integral part of the roster, having won multiple titles and being part of several memorable moments over the years. However, the former SmackDown Women's Champion's current contract is reportedly set to expire this month. Amid all the rumors, the Queen of Hearts remains a regular fixture on WWE television. According to a recent report from Fightful Select, the former Divas champion had not signed a new deal till Thursday, despite the two parties being in talks. Natalya has suffered losses in most of her recent matches. The Raw star lost in the very first round of the Queen of the Ring tournament as well. She fell short against a spirited Iyo Sky in a highly entertaining back-and-forth contest. During a recent edition of the K100W Conan and Disco podcast, Conan shared his take on the match between the two veteran performers. The 60-year-old praised the former Hart Dynasty member and her in-ring abilities, while questioning WWE for booking the latter to lose more often than not. Yeah, it was good, the match between Natalya and Iyo Sky. Natalya is always in shape, looks good, and can still go, but she never wins. They never take her seriously. But I don't know why they do her like that, he said. WWE recently lost a major superstar from their roster as former women's champion Becky Lynch did not re-sign a new deal with the company and is a free agent presently. The man, however, is expected to return to WWE. In the absence of several top names, including Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Rhea Ripley, Natalya heading out might not be an ideal situation for the wrestling promotion. AEW announced the Owen Hart Foundation tournament earlier this year. The tournament is set to end on July 10th, 2024. With her contract expiring soon, several rumors suggested that the Queen of Hearts might become a free agent and receive an offer to participate in the prestigious tournament. Drew McIntyre bashes WWE despite signing a new deal. Drew McIntyre has opened up about something he is not a fan of in WWE. The veteran recently inked a new contract with the promotion and will remain with it for the foreseeable future. The Scottish Warrior defeated Seth Rollins to capture the World Heavyweight Championship at WWE WrestleMania. However, his rivalry with CM Punk was more important to him, and he started taunting the 45-year-old who was on commentary. It cost him dearly, as Punk attacked and Damian Priest capitalized. Speaking to the Indian Express, McIntyre shared that he cannot stand the Money in the Bank contract because it has cost him 2 title reigns so far. First of all, I can't stand the Money in the Bank briefcase. I understand the point is to cash it in to win the title, but I've lost my last 2 world titles because of that stupid briefcase. But yeah, WrestleMania wasn't ideal. I said I was going to win the title. I was going to celebrate it with my friends, my family, and my wife. And then I was going to rub the title in CM Punk's face. I can't stand him. We have a history that people just do not know about yet. He hurt me personally and professionally when I was younger, he said. Damian Priest is set to defend his World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle. McIntyre has warned Punk that he could be in trouble with the fans in Scotland if he shows up at the event next weekend. NWA World Heavyweight Champion EC3 believes it is time for Drew McIntyre to capture the title once again. Speaking on Sportskeeda's The Wrestling Outlaws podcast, EC3 noted that McIntyre is a friend of his and hopes to see him win at WWE Clash at the Castle. He noted that McIntyre is a world-class talent who hasn't been given a massive moment in front of fans yet. Do I think? Yeah, I do. Do I hope? Yeah, I do. Drew. Yeah, he is a friend of mine, but he is also like a world-class talent, world-class human. A+ game on social media as of late, but you know when he had the match with Brock? That was there in the COVID season and it was kind of like, right? It didn't have the reaction. It didn't have that momentous feeling. What happened to WrestleMania? Opening the show kind of like, with the switch happening. It didn't have that momentous feeling, said EC3. Drew McIntyre has taken multiple shots at Damian Priest and has referred to the WWE Raw star as a transitional champion. It will be fascinating to see who emerges victorious at WWE Clash at the Castle on June 15th. WWE crowns a new champion after SmackDown went off air. After this week's Friday Night SmackDown went off the air, WWE crowned a new champion. Andrade defeated Ricochet to become the new Speed Champion. The Speed Championship was created earlier this year, with male superstars from all 3 WWE brands being allowed to challenge for it. Matches on Speed have a time limit of 5 minutes and are broadcast on X Twitter. During the Speed tapings in April 2024, Ricochet became the inaugural Speed Champion, defeating Johnny Gargano in the final. Following this week's SmackDown, the 35-year-old's reign as the inaugural Speed Champion ended, courtesy of Andrade. During the 2024 Men's Royal Rumble match, Andrade returned to the Stamford-based company as a surprise entrant. Shortly after, he was placed in a storyline with Dominic Mysterio, as he briefly aligned with the former NXT North American champion and the Legado del Fantasma. However, he eventually betrayed Dominic and turned babyface. At WrestleMania XL, Andrade teamed up with Rey Mysterio to defeat the team of Dominic and Santos Escobar. He is currently involved in a storyline with Legado del Fantasma, with Angel trying to recruit the 34-year-old superstar into the faction. Meanwhile, Ricochet is involved in a storyline with Ilya Dragunov and Braun Breaker over on Monday Night Raw. TNA and WWE crossover leads to a major disappointment. WWE and TNA Wrestling recently shocked the pro wrestling world with their own forbidden door of sorts. The two sides had their special interest in working together, but the word now is that there was strong disappointment over at least one aspect of the deal so far. TNA Knockouts world champion Jordynne Grace recently made an appearance in NXT by confronting Roxanne Perez to set up their NXT Women's Championship match at Battleground this weekend. Grace then returned on the latest episode of the White and Gold brand to defeat Stevie Turner. The arrival of Grace was a trending topic among fans, and there was talk of more WWE TNA crossover work to come. TNA wrestling officials reportedly had great disappointment at the ratings for the May 30th, 2024 episode of Impact, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. They hoped that Grace's appearance on the May 28th, 2024 episode of NXT, along with WWE's multiple mentions of TNA wrestling, would lead to a ratings increase for last week. The expected increase did not happen as last week's episode of Impact failed to make the Cable Top 150 list. This information means TNA Wrestling drew a key demo rating of 0.01 or less than 19,000 viewers in the key demo from the number 134 spot on down. It will be interesting to see how WWE's exposure may have helped TNA Wrestling on the week of the show. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair's fate decided. WWE has one of the deepest rosters in years, with SmackDown being the house of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. During the latest Smack Talk episode, Dutch Mantell predicted the reigning women's tag team champions would split soon. While Triple H has been patient with Jade Cargill since she arrived from AEW, the 32-year-old has been on an impressive run since her debut, and has formed a successful alliance with the already established Bianca Belair. The electrifying duo rightfully holds the women's tag team championship, but a feud between Belair and Cargill seems inevitable. Dutch Mantell brought up the topic on the latest episode of Sportskeeda's Smack Talk, and he said Bianca and Jade will go their separate ways in about 9 months. Mantell also believed Cargill would turn heel on her WWE tag team partner, which would kickstart a storyline that many fans have been waiting for since the former AEW star's WWE signing. You know who I think is headed for a breakup later on, maybe 8 to 9 months from now? Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. That screams to me when they go out. Who are they going to make the heel here? I think they will make Jade the heel, don't you think? Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair picked up another win on SmackDown this week, but were attacked by Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, Isla Dawn, and Alba Fire after the match. The babyface champions overcame the odds and stood tall at the end together. However, as Dutch Mantell suggests, Jade Cargill could betray Bianca Belair in the near future. Unseen WWE footage shows what Solo Sikoa said to female fan after SmackDown went off air. Solo Sikoa had a hilarious response after a female fan tried to troll him on SmackDown. The exchange was shared on WWE's official Instagram handle. Solo, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa took on Kevin Owens and the Street Profits in a 6-man tag team match on the latest episode of SmackDown. In the end, Sikoa attacked Montez Ford with a chair, thus resulting in a loss via DQ. The Bloodline attacked the babyfaces during the final moments of the show, including a triple powerbomb on Owens. The heel stable stood tall as the show went off the air. WWE later shared a video that showed the Bloodline heading backstage after the match. A female fan tried to troll Solo Sikoa and said the following: "Where's your daddy?" The enforcer quickly hit back, and told the fan to ask her mom. Solo is now the leader of the Bloodline in Roman Reigns' absence. He was put in the stable back in 2022 when he helped Reigns defeat Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle. Sikoa has been one of the most intriguing acts on SmackDown since then. Last year, Reigns announced Solo Sikoa as the tribal heir, leaving Jimmy Uso upset. The Enforcer kicked Jimmy out of the Bloodline after seemingly taking charge of the faction following the events that transpired at WrestleMania XL. Roman Reigns has been replaced by WWE. Roman Reigns has not been a part of WWE since WrestleMania, but he has found himself in the middle of controversy on SmackDown. In his absence, the star has now been replaced. Solo Sikoa took over the Bloodline when Reigns left, and immediately started making changes. He kicked out Jimmy Uso and brought in Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. He had already started calling himself the Tribal Chief, and it appears he had taken that name away from Roman. Paul Heyman, who could not communicate with Reigns, was also forced to accept the change. Sikoa said he speaks to Roman regularly, but has shown no evidence of this. The Enforcer even claimed that the former champion had put him in charge until he could finally return. On WWE SmackDown, WWE thoroughly replaced Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman also introduced Solo as the head of the table, taking over his other name in the absence of the star. Now, Sikoa is both the Tribal Chief as well as the head of the table, monikers that Reigns had earned by establishing himself in the company. The star has been silent in his absence, but it remains to be seen what his reaction will be. Since Reigns has been gone, Sikoa has changed the Bloodline. He does not ask Paul Heyman for advice and chooses to rule over him, threatening him regularly. He has kicked Jimmy Uso out and introduced Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. When Reigns returns, he may disapprove of what has been done to the faction he had built, but fans will have to wait for his reaction. At this time, it looks like he might not be back before SummerSlam. The Bloodline is on the cusp of a massive storyline. Former WWE manager Dutch Mantell spoke about the Bloodline consolidating its power on SmackDown. The faction was in full focus this week as the members made some major announcements. The faction kicked off SmackDown this week with Paul Heyman and made major announcements. However, Tonga Loa's anointment to the Bloodline was interrupted by Kevin Owens and the Street Profits. This set up a huge 6-man tag team match for the main event. On the latest Smack Talk podcast, Dutch Mantell said it was great that WWE was taking time to develop the Bloodline storyline. He said fans might believe the story has gone on for too long, but it will result in a huge payoff when Roman Reigns returns. It's a massive angle. They've worked it right, they didn't get ahead of themselves, and they took their time. I've said it a million times. Tell the story, and sometimes you may tell it too long, but at least you know the story is in place. You tell the story, and then when they come back, shoot the angle, they know it's going to work. In the main event, KO and the Profits won via disqualification after Solo Sikoa went to town on his opponents with a steel chair. The beatdown continued as the faction destroyed their opponents and finally slammed Owens on the announcer's desk to end the show. Roman Reigns has a disturbing surprise for him upon his WWE return. Former WWE manager Dutch Mantell spoke about how the Bloodline has changed after Roman Reigns' departure. In the absence of the Tribal Chief, Solo Sikoa took over the faction and added new members to it. This week on SmackDown, the Bloodline made some important changes to their ranks. Tonga Loa was officially accepted into the faction. Tama Tonga was also recognized as Solo Sikoa's right-hand man. This week on Sportskeeda Wrestling Smack Talk, Dutch Mantell pointed out that the new Bloodline is a much more brutal faction with Solo at the helm. The veteran felt they were not as vicious with Roman Reigns as their leader. He noted that the Tribal Chief made Sikoa a monster, and he might face the wrath when he returns to WWE. They're turned into a more violent faction. They're much more violent than Roman, because that's the way Solo fashions them. What Roman has done in Solo is create a monster that's going to get big enough to come back and eat him. During the same discussion, Mantell predicted that Roman Reigns would eventually reunite with the Usos to take on this new iteration of the Bloodline. I think we'll see the Usos together with Roman, which has a happy ending to it. The family gets back together, and they'll be fighting the other part of the family that nobody likes. And I think they will have a great match. They really will. The wrestling veteran felt that the match between the two groups would be the culmination of a huge saga in WWE. Roman Reigns returns to save Paul Heyman. Former WWE manager Dutch Mantell recently spoke about Roman Reigns' eventual return to the company. The Tribal Chief had his last match at WrestleMania XL. Roman had a historic run for the last few years with Paul Heyman by his side. He became the undisputed WWE Universal Champion and decimated every challenger who stood in his path. Finally, his reign ended at the Show of Shows, when Cody Rhodes won the title and finished his story. On the latest episode of Sports Akita Wrestling's Smack Talk, Dutch Mantell pointed out that the new bloodline comprising of Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa would eventually turn on the Wisemen. He felt this would pave the way for Roman Reigns to return and defend the 58-year-old Hall of Famer. You can almost see what's coming. They're gonna start in on Paul Heyman one day. Then I don't know if Roman would make the save or show up to defend him. They're laying this out well. The fans saying, "We want Roman. He didn't do anything. He hadn't done anything." But they like Roman because he hung in there 3.5 years and held the title. So he has respect from the fans. Mantell also mentioned that Roman has the respect of fans because he was there for so long and carried the company for the last few years. It will be interesting to see if there is a power struggle within the bloodline once Roman Reigns decides to make a comeback.